Thing that motivates us. It's all about contributing to our well-being, to our wellness in life. And my opinion is that if we live a life with purpose, we're already halfway there. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Wednesdays with Wallis. I'm your host, Wallis Patterson. If you like the things that you hear on this podcast or show or whatever you want to call it, click on the link below and subscribe. We sure could do with all your subscriptions, and we'd love to have you. Okay, little bit of self-promotion there. And today's title of the show is Getting Older Shouldn't Be Doom and Gloom. Ugh. Oh, that's a bit bloody ominous, isn't it? Shouldn't be doom and gloom. You know, when I was thinking about what to say today, I was thinking to myself, there are times, and there's times in all our lives, don't get me wrong. It's not just about getting older. I mean, a friend of mine I was talking to yesterday was saying, you know, talking about the escalation in, depression and mental health, and, you know, people suffering from mental health issues from simply, you know, feeling depressed through to, you know, some more serious mental health issues. It's bloody frightening. And if we focus on it, it's bloody scary, really scary. Scares the bejesus out of me. And I, then get into thinking, where are we going? What are we doing? Oh, the bloody world's in chaos, la, la, la. Misery loves company, as I say. And so we finish up, going down the rabbit hole and thinking, oh, God, things are terrible, and they just get worse because we add to them. We just add, it's one of those things. It's not always so easily explained. We start thinking about a particular thing, and in no time at all, it's like some invisible thing goes out and collects all the rest from our memories. And when it's done collecting from the memories and the memory banks and all the stuff in the brain, which is amazing, then it, goes off and adds to it on an external basis. You've thought about that? That's bloody amazing, isn't it? But simple terms, that's exactly what goes on. That's exactly what happens. So this friend of mine was saying yesterday about, really it was very doom and gloom. It was very, doomsday between that and all the stuff that's going on in the Middle East and all the stuff. And I'm not trying to trivialise it. Don't get me wrong. I am an empath. If I get into it, I'll go to bed. I'll be so bloody, overwrought and overcome and so overwhelmed by it all. So know thyself. I have to say to myself, well, I've got to put that in. Oh, pardon me. I've got to put that in its right perspective, and I can't be, getting into it all too much, or I'll be done for. I'll be one of the statistics, and that's not going to happen. Okay, so getting older, and even, as I said, even when we're younger, but getting older, because the issues around aging are things like loneliness, and older people can become way more lonely than younger people. And all of this is, all of this can be argued against. All of this can be debated upon. But in general, I'm talking in general, older people can be left and become more lonely and find themselves in situations where, they're just bloody lonely. So loneliness can become a real issue. That's gloomy. And all our aches and pains and all the things that go on. I think I said it the other day on the podcast, but, I just had a knee reconstruction, and I tell you, I've gone through some crap. Oh, God, it's been shitty. I've gone through some real crap with it. And getting into my head. In fact, I saw the physio today, and I said to him, when you're here, when he's here and he leaves, I feel, I feel good about it, and I feel quite uplifted, and I feel in a really, really good space. But I said to him, by the time you come next time, I've got myself into a right old bloody mess around it. Building on, I'm not doing that well. Other people are doing a lot more than me. I'm behind the curve. Oh, the stuff. Oh, Christ, it just goes on and on. So if you're listening to this and you can relate, and this is maybe not all of you, but you can relate to it in some ways. You're going, well, I don't particularly do that, but I can certainly understand because I do this. I get it. Okay, that's one of my favourite sayings. I get it. And when I say I get it, I mean I really do get it. It just doesn't come in at my head. It comes into my heart and it comes into my body. I really, really understand it. Why? How and why do I understand it? Well, because I'm the age that I am, and I've been through a great deal of things in my life, and I simply do understand. I do get the sorts of things that go on. But one of the things that I also get about it is the need, and it's a need, not a want. It's definitely a need to get over it, get on. I think this, my podcast last week was all about give it up. And that's me in relation to my knee. I started getting into all sorts of stuff around it. And, the bottom line is give it up, move on. You just cannot, there are just some things you cannot dwell on. And we're best to spend the effort and the time in the solutions. So rather than focus on the problem, let's focus on the solution. Can we? Let's, don't look, the world's in chaos. What's the solution? I have no idea. NFI, and I won't say what that means because I'd be swearing very badly on my own podcast. I'm not going to do that. I'll say certain things, but I won't get into really swearing around it. NFI, no idea. No idea. I don't have the answer for it. But what I do have on an individual level is working on making my own self, my own world, my own environment a better place to live in, a better place to be part of, the community I live in, being positive about those things that are going on, and don't look for the doom and gloom and everything. I mean, it's not, misery loves company, as I said. Oh, bloody hell, does it ever. And so it's not difficult. It's not difficult to find the doom and gloom in every damn thing. You've probably been around those people who, they're miserable to be around. Why? Because when you're around them, they never have anything good to say about anything or anybody or anyone, or, oh my God, they're a blessing, aren't they? But not to us, maybe to someone else, but not to us. So don't get into all that. Don't get into looking for all the bad things, looking for all the stuff. Find the solutions. If you're lonely, what sort of things do you like to do? And I'm going to be I'm going to dig in today and be really honest about this. Sometimes it's just pure bloody laziness. It's just seriously being lazy. When you hear people say, I've done it, I've heard people around me do it. We all do it from time to time when we get tired and weary. That's when it comes up for me. When I get overtired, weary, when I've put a huge amount on my plate to do and then, have to, chew like buggery to get through it, that's when I can become, that's when I can get a bit bitchy and doom and gloom. And I always say to myself, you're far better off, Wallis, if you just keep busy at your own things. But it's easy to get weary. So when you get weary, I get it, I've had it, I do it. It's one of my trigger points. You've got to identify those for yourself. What are the things that set things off? If I get into that space and I get asked out or there's an opportunity to do something, I immediately start making excuses why I can't do it or why I can't go or why it's not the right fit or whatever else. And it's simply just a whole load of just rubbish. It's a whole lot of excuses, and it's a bit like I can't be bothered. So that's one of the things as we get older we've got to be careful of. We've got to be careful of this whole thing around I can't be bothered. You can't get into that space. You've got to be bothered. You just tell yourself, what if? What if I make this effort and I get there and it turns out to be amazing? What if? And do you know or not? Do you know that it's not going to be? Do you know that it is going to be? We pass such judgments on things, like we're, oracle bloody readers. We can see the future. We know all the damn stuff that's going to happen. Most times we're wrong. We don't have a clue. So just get off your lazy assets and, do something. Get out there and do it. If you live in a community where there's a few shops and you like wandering through the shops and getting yourself a coffee, go and do that. Don't meet with people. Don't get on the phone. Don't, and I mean don't, underline, don't mix with the people that feed the negatives in yourself. Will you do that? Because that is so easy. When we're feeling down, when we're feeling life is doom and gloom, when we're feeling all that sort of stuff, we see it. What do people do? They get into all this stuff around what's going on in the Middle East and everywhere else. They can't wait to get to the bloody news of the night time to see what else they can feed on. I had a debate on this one time with some people that I know, and it was all about, keeping abreast of the news, making sure you know what's going on in the world, etc., etc., etc. And I thought, you're wrong. You're wrong. You you will know it anyway. It'll come to you via something you overhear. I don't watch the news. Never. You got it? Never. Never. I never turn on the news. It's like the plague. I keep away from it. I do not turn the television on. I never watch the news. I've got some friends who religiously, they can't wait. They've got to be watching whatever news, and if they miss it on one channel, they've got to watch it on the other. And I think to me, what the hell for? What is that doing for you? And I look at their lives and nothing. It's not doing a damn thing for them. Nothing bloody changes. They've got the most miserable bloody lives. But I'm not trying to be judgmental. It's not a judgment. It's just simply when I look around me, when I look at people, and I'm a great observer, and I observe all the sorts of things that are going on, the people who have the most miserable lives, have the most problems, have the most, unhappiness in them, are really plugged into all the negatives. And wherever they can draw it from, and the more they can draw from it, whether that's the TV, whether it's the sorts of people they have around them, whether it's the things that they read, whatever it is, they feed it like fish feeding off fish food. You don't need it. Trust me, I'm really, really on it today. Pardon me. I'm on it because getting older doesn't have to be doom and gloom. And it doesn't have to be because we're in control. We can change it. We can make things different for ourselves. And at the end of the day, the buck stops here. I mean, it has to be up to us. You know, a friend of mine's going through a very difficult time at the moment with things around her. And, you know, she's getting older. She's a bit older than me. And, you know, I look at it and she knows that if it's to change, she has to change. And, you know, it's not always that easy. God damn it, it's a biggie at times. And I've done it in my own life. I've made some humongous decisions that have been as hard as all get out. But, you know, at the end of the day, I knew they had to be made, and I made them, and they turned out, you know, wonderfully, really. Nothing I could have ever imagined. So I always remind myself of that. And I'm going to say that to you today, if you're watching this. Please don't get into the doom and gloom of life. Focus on what the solutions are. That's a positive. Focus on the solutions. Don't focus on the problem. We all get in and muck in and get into the mire and the mud around the problem. And we just keep adding into the problem, chatting with it to people who agree with us, and they'll add more into it. And we get more into this big, you know, pudding of, you know, of negativity. Don't do that. It doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. I want you to look at what the solution is. That might be the problem. Just stick it aside and say, okay, that's the problem. I get it. I've got it. It's happening. But what's the solution to it? And there's a solution for everything. Just before I go, I'm going to tell you a little story. Many, many years ago, I wrote a book on business and the environment a lot of years ago. And I decided that the way to, I didn't have any money, and I decided that the way to fund that book and get that book published and get it out there and all that sort of stuff, because it was self-published. I've done a lot of self-publishing. So the way to do it at the time was to, and it was all about business and companies, was for me to make appointments and schlep around to all these companies that I'd made a list of, and have a chat to the appropriate people about putting forward their story and being in the book and paying for it. Yep, paying for it, paying for their own story. And that was the way I was going to fund the book. And I did that, and it was fantastic. It was great. I got some amazing people. I got some fabulous stories. People didn't balk about, you know, the money I asked for them to be in the book. And I thought I had it all done, and I'd done all my sums on it and all that sort of stuff. But right at the very last minute of the book being published and everything, there was some hickeys with the printer, some costs that weren't taken into account, some things that went wrong, as they do in life. And I was left with, you know, a bill that to get the book, I couldn't pay. And I had no money. And I didn't know what to do. I had no idea. NFI. No idea. So I sat down, knowing even in those days what I did about there's more than one solution to the problem. Solution. Notice I said solution, not more problems. Solution. So I sat down and I made a big list. And I started with, as we all do, with the things that were the easiest. You know, going to the bank, getting an overdraft, you know, all the things that were the easiest, the low-hanging fruit, as we call it, the easiest things to do to get it, you know, to get it done. And as I went down the list and bombed out on most of them, then I got to the really, you know, the difficult things and the hard part. What did I finish up doing? You're probably saying, well, you know, what did you finish up doing? Well, I had a nice little car that I drove. It was a little second-hand car. It was lovely. I didn't pay a lot of money for it, but it just had enough in it for me to pay this bill. So I sold my car. and I was walking for a while because I didn't have the money to buy another one. But, you know, we make those difficult and hard decisions in life, and they're not the ones we want to make. Do we choose to make them? No, hell no. But sometimes we have to, and it all worked out all right. You know, I finished up down the line. I got myself another car. Things, you know, things picked up. Things got along. I made a bit more money. You know, I'm the consummate entrepreneur. I made some more money. I got back on my feet a bit, and I did finish up down the line. I had to train it and walk and, you know, tram it and all that for a while. It was c'est la vie. But, you know, the important thing for me was that I had taken these people's money and, you know, to get this project finished and out there and done and live up to what I said, you know, I had to do those things. The point in this is not what I did. The point in it is there's more than one solution to your problem. Will you remember that? And some of them are really palatable and you can get through easily. Sometimes we have to get to the harder ones, but there's always a solution, trust me. So I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you for watching. Click on the link below and subscribe to Wednesdays with Wallis. It's changing all the time. I never know what I'm going to talk about. That was today's topic, and I do hope that somebody somewhere out there will benefit from what I've just said, and it'll help you. And if it helps one person, then I've done my job, haven't I? So have a good day. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your week. Be fabulous. That's what I want you to be. Be fabulous. And I'll see you next week on Wednesdays with Wallis. Click on the link, subscribe, and I'll see you very, very soon.